Every year, thousands of students sit the UCAT. And today I've had the privilege of interviewing one of my students who sat the UCAT, who has been so kind as to share his experiences with preparation, sitting the test, and advice for future students. It's a very unique exam, and there's tremendous insights in this video. So I'll get straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Aman. Aman, you sat the UCAT just now. You're a free man as of last week, I believe.
Yep.
First of all, how does it feel to be done with the exam?
Feels good. Feels a little bit like a weight lift off the shoulders. But yeah, no, definitely happy with how it went, and definitely just happy now it's over, and I can just enjoy a little bit of the free time.
And so, for people who are watching this video, like tell us a bit about yourself and your background, and sort of your like the events that leading up to sitting the UCAT this year.
Yeah, no, of course. So I'm currently a third year podiatry student at Western Sydney in Sydney, Australia. Um, did the UCAT once in year 12, which was in 2020 actually. And yeah, not too much about myself. Preparation before UCAT was kept it sort of not too overwhelming with stuff to learn, just kept it quite basic, and sort of knew what I had to focus on before doing the exam. But yeah, I just kept it pretty simple. Didn't really do overly too much with it. With the prep, I mean, yeah.
And what were the differences between the first time you sat the UCAT, which would have been 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and the time you sat it this time?
Definitely the sort of improvements with tips, leading up to this year's sitting compared to the first time I sat it, where UCAT was a very new exam to students in Australia, where it was introduced in 2019. And then 2020 is where the second time students are starting to get a little bit more familiar with the exam, but still trying to get the understanding of how it works. So definitely the tips, and strategies have definitely improved from the early years till now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what tips would you say were most helpful for you?
I would say definitely with decision making and VR, those would probably the two main tricks with VR, especially where if you get a statement, for example, where they're all generalized, you can sort of pick out some of the keywords in those statements to figure out where you can eliminate your answer options much more quicker to find the answer within out of one or two options. That's probably one of the big differences that's helped me sort of get a pretty good VR score, which was 770, 710, I should say. And with DM, sort of analyzing each subsection a little bit more carefully, and targeting the weaknesses at a much more better rate and improving at a much more better rate. Whilst where when you're in the first time I was doing it, it was a little bit hard trying to sort of grasp what each section was sort of asking for. But now in the recent years, strategies and tips have improved so much, where students are getting a little bit better with familiarizing themselves with each section of the exam.
And it's a perennial debate, but did you use Medifi, MedEntry, and how did you find it compared to the actual test?
So I was mainly using Medifi. I can't speak on MedEntry. I didn't actually use that platform too much. But from what I can say to the actual exam, Medifi was actually very much similar to the actual exam, especially with Quantitoid, like QR, and DM, very similar to the actual exam. But definitely the official practice mocks is the closest it gets to the actual exam with because VR on Medifi is it's actually a little bit easier to the actual exam on the day. I'd say on the day it's a little bit more harder. Texts are a lot longer usually on the day, um, compared to what you get on Medifi, where they're a little bit shorter and you can read it a little bit more of a quicker pace and answer the questions a little bit more effectively. But if you do look at the official mocks, they're definitely 100% very similar to the actual exam.
It's good advice. I guess the tricky thing is they're also a bit limited because there's only four of
There's
those
only
mocks.
four
But
exactly, yes.
yeah, you do get this. It's sort of common thought that Medify can be a bit more like keyword based in terms of things match up nicely, whereas in the actual exam it's a bit more inference based. Is that what you found?
Definitely, yeah, definitely more inference based in the exam. Medify did have a bit more keyword based sort of questions when I was going through, I'd say, untimed practice and time practice also. So the difference between sort of switching between how much you were getting in Medifi with keyword questions, it helped definitely on the actual day also, because there were a few keyword questions which I got in the exam, which helped made it very easy to sort of pick it out and just find the answers pretty much within 30 seconds.
Great. So which subtest did you say would you have found most challenging and why was that the case?
Well, I thought VR would be one of my harder subtests. It was definitely, I mean, it was the lowest scoring for me. It was 710 compared to the other subtests. So my overall subtest scores were 710, 770, and 830. So which gave me a 2310 as overall score. But the overall subtest I found the hardest was probably decision making. Definitely with the syllogisms and inference-based sections of that exam. Definitely, they're probably going to be the most hardest to sort of get your mind sort of familiarize it a little bit better, because the logic behind it is quite hard when you first do it. Like even when you do untimed practice, sometimes it might take you 10 minutes to even understand what a certain syllogisms even asking or what it actually means. So that section decision in that section in decision making was definitely the hard part for me. VR was also hard because of timing aspect, but when you do improve with the timing, it does get a little bit better when you practice more and more.
I think lots of students have found the decision making a bit harder this year on the test, probably because of some discrepancies between like the difficulty of the material with their practice material. Whereas the thing with verbal reasoning is like I think the difficulty is quite similar. So people seem to match up in terms of scores reasonably between the actual test and what they get in their practice.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Looking back at your preparation, is there anything you would change about the way you prepared for the UCAT?
Probably maybe starting a little bit earlier, I'd say. I know there's a lot of like advice on either TikTok, YouTube, saying that, you reach a certain peak, which is I actually do find that very true. You do reach a certain peak in your prep where you're scoring well in mocks or in even the mini mocks on Medifi also you do. There's a certain peak that you reach, but for my in terms of my preparation, if I maybe started a little bit earlier with more on-time practice, probably would have helped in the long run when doing more on timed and time practice for the mini mocks and the official mocks also. So I just say just a little bit more extra time in prep would have probably been a little bit better.
And I guess it differs for everyone, but how
Yes,
much
definitely.
prep
Yeah.
would you say would you recommend to students who are sitting it? And do you think it's different for uni students as compared to high school students?
Sorry, you just cut out there, Ethan.
In terms of like how long someone should prepare for the UCAT, what would you recommend? And is it different for uni versus high school students?
Oh, yes, definitely. It's definitely different between high school to uni students. Uni students, I definitely say, depending on how many subjects you're taking in uni, it's going to be, you find it probably a little bit more time to study for the UCAT. And then with year 12 also, you've got to focus on your ATAR. You've got trials to worry about also because it's within that same period also. So it's definitely different between a year 12 student and a university student, just based on the timing aspect, and when your exams are also. I know if you're doing semester based for university, sometimes you actually have a break in that just that mid period between June to July, sort of that period. So that way you can just effectively study a little bit more. And then even with uni, the classes aren't like a whole day thing unless you're doing some sort of health science degree where you might have clinic days or some sort of long prac which runs through 2 or 3 hours in certain times of the day. But you'll have more time, I'd say, as a university student compared to like a high school student. That's definitely in my case, which what I found based on the subjects I was doing this semester anyway and last semester.
Yeah, it's something I didn't realize until this year, but because in Melbourne we don't really have the trial exams in the middle of the year, but for people in New South Wales, the trial period is actually like very soon after the UCAT, and so you basically have to study for all of those at the same time, which perhaps is a case pushing the UCAT a bit earlier in the testing period and doing like just starting the whole process a bit earlier, because otherwise you're juggling all these things at once, and it's pretty chaotic. Yeah, because these are
Definitely.
this is probably the biggest exams people would have done when they're at that stage.
100%, 100%. Most Year 12 students do the exam within early July anyway, and I'd say most uni students would do it towards end of July to the beginning of August where it ends anyway.
And we did some work together basically to improve some of your scores in each of the sections. What parts from our sessions did you find most valuable?
So definitely just going through each sort of question type, and sorry, each section subtype, I should say. So just sort of figuring out like what you should be doing for each section and how you should sort of go about the prep, and even definitely just reviewing the mistakes and sort of the tips and tricks in each of the lessons that we did to sort of improve the speed and accuracy, which definitely has helped me so much. The guides that you've sent through were very helpful for VR, especially. Definitely changed the like aspect of how I should tackle it. It got me like that was the first time I scored 700. So compared to I got a 620 in my first sitting. So that's like the 90 point increase from the last time I sat it. So I was definitely very happy with just that jump itself. But yeah, definitely just those key points where your guides helped, tackling just each question type, how to sort of effectively answer it within the tips and tricks that you give that you gave also within the lessons. Definitely helped when doing the time practice also.
Thanks very much. It's great feedback. And people will continue to sit the UCAT for many years after we are done with it. And it seems like every year the standards get higher, the strategies get better, things get more and more competitive. What advice would you give people who are sitting the UCAT in the future?
So definitely the UCAT, it's probably one of the hardest exams. Definitely it's hard. It's no doubt about it. It's so time pressured. It's you got to think so quickly on the day, where you got to read the question within 30 seconds, understand it, pick an answer option within that time. Definitely it's hard exam. I say just don't be too hard on yourself, because it is a hard exam. And just if there's days where you're gonna be demotivated, stressed, just take a break usually. Just take a break. Like if you know you're not doing good on the day, like on the day I mean like with your study prep, I mean, just take a whole day off. Like just take the whole day. Don't do any UCAT prep. Just de-stress, relax, do whatever you want on that day. And then tomorrow or day after, get back on it and then just switch on from there. Definitely just sort of don't over stress on the exam so much. It's not the end of the world. There's always other options if you don't get it in first time. I mean, I know people who've done UCAT 3 times, GAMSAT 4 times, and then they've gotten into med or dentistry when they're like 27 or 28. So you've got so much time. And even like you're going to work until when you're like 65 to 70 when you retire. So the timing is just, you've got so much time in your life. So just enjoy the process, I'd say, also is a big tip. Enjoy the process. Don't sort of be negative with the process. Enjoy it, embrace it. That's probably one of the big tips I've learned when doing the prep also. Just enjoy it. That's probably one of the big key ways I'd say.
It's great advice because then you think I'll be happy once I get in, and then you get in and you start, and it's super busy, and you're doing all this work, and you think I'll be happy once I start earning money, and then
Exactly,
it
exactly.
never you never actually stop and really enjoy it and relax.
No, definitely, 100%. That's so true.
Now, I'm sure the people viewing this will be kicking me if I don't ask some rapid fire questions, one for each of the sections, just about the most common things people have issues with. We'll start with VR. Would you say is reading the passage better or is doing a keyword approach better?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question actually. I know when I did it the first time, I tried to read the passage first, and whilst it can be good in some cases, if you have a high reading ability, you can definitely read through the passage first and then answer the questions. But it's just the back and forth sometimes you have to go between reading the passage, looking the question, and then you have to go back at the passage to find what you're looking for is definitely hard. So my advice would probably be go to the question. So if the question's asking which of the following is true and so you got the answer options, read like a keyword of each answer option, look at the statement of what you're looking for, and then you're going to be able to find whichever answer fits that question best. So definitely question first, then passage. That just makes it easier because when you read the question first, you don't have to actually look at the whole passage. You best best advice when you which I learned also from yourself and other people on YouTube also was read the first and last line of each paragraph. That way you sort of get an understanding of what each paragraph is talking about. And when you read that first and last line, you think, okay, so this is what the key theme is within that paragraph. That way you know, okay, I can find the answer in this paragraph, or it's in the second paragraph, so on, so on. So definitely question first, then passage. That's probably my key takeaway from that one.
Awesome. That's good. That's good advice. In decision making, what order do you do the question types in?
So this actually changed on the day. I actually sort of in the first instinct in my head was go through argument question types first, and then go to probability, then Venn diagram, and then syllogisms. Sorry, arguments, then probability, Venn diagram, then logic puzzles, and then syllogisms, then inference based. But sometimes with logic puzzles, you get it's so long to do the question because there might be a question on you got three different activities for logic puzzles. So I sort of actually just went through logic puzzles first. I guessed all the answers first because I knew if I didn't have time, at least answered somewhat and I put B for all of them, by the way, on the day. I put B for all the answer options because
It's a
I
good letter. Yeah.
it's a pretty it's like statistically it's a higher chance of getting it right. But I put B first for all the logic puzzles. Then I went straight to arguments, which I knew I can do within 40 to 50 seconds. And then I went to probability, which was easy also, not too hard. You can get if you do the prep enough, you can fly through that section very quickly. And Venn diagrams, they're not too hard either. So I was able to finish that very quickly. Then I went to logic puzzles, which I was able to quickly do two to three questions. Then I had to guess the other two based off time because I knew I would spend too long there. And syllogism, I went there next after logic puzzles, and then I went to inference-based questions. So I did the two markers last and all the single mark answers first.
Yeah. I mean, people will say to do the two markers, and bank the marks, but like realistically, they sometimes can take more than double time, even like because they are double marks. So it's something for everyone to consider how fast they actually do them as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Quantitative, how did you deal with well, in your prep and on the actual exam, how did you deal with those long stems and hard questions?
So definitely identifying the four questions you get within that set. If you know it's going to take too long, you just flag and skip. It's not talked about so much. It's not even talked about that much, like flagging and skipping. You got to flag and skip regardless, because otherwise you're not going to finish the exam. If you try and do the exam in order, you won't finish. You got 26 minutes and 36 questions to do. It's just the timing aspect is too much. It's 40 seconds per question. So if you get a hard set first up, skip it. Just skip, flag, skip, move on. You have to be so ruthless with your time. Where I used the 20-second rule actually. If 20 seconds I couldn't answer the question or I couldn't even understand what it meant, I just flagged and skipped. That's literally I had to be so cutthroat with it. But then by the time I actually finished on the day when I actually finished all 36 questions, I didn't actually answer all of them, obviously. I probably skipped like maybe eight questions. So I finished up until the question 36, came back to whatever I flagged. I had around maybe 6 to 7 minutes to go, and I was able to sort of understand what the question was actually asking.
It's a good strategy to sort of have your first run through where you do the bulk of the things, and then after that, you can see how many minutes left, how many hard questions are left, and then you can cater your approach. Do you want to go in a more sort of rushed approach because you have less time, which has its own strategies, maybe rounding, estimating, focusing on the units number, or do you have lots of time and then you can sort of do things thoroughly and in a more mathematically appropriate way?
No, definitely, exactly.
Awesome advice, and thank you very much for giving those tips and insights into the UCAT. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the people watching this video?
Yeah, no, definitely. Just also when you go on the day, know your keyboard shortcuts. That's definitely a must. The keyboard that I actually got on the day was pretty good. I was able to punch in numbers, pretty well. So it's not actually bad, the keyboard that you get on the day. It's pretty easy to type in quickly. The only issue is that when you do have a calculator up for QR, if you want to skip to the next question, you can't actually put the answer which you want first. You would actually close the calculator before you put in the answer. So that's probably one thing I would note when you do the QR section is to close the calculator first and then put the answer. I mean, that was it. That was like for me when I was trying to actually punch in an answer, I had to close the calculator first before I could click an answer option. I don't know if it was just like a computer glitch or whatever it was. But I had to close the calculator first before I could actually click the answer option there. So close the calculator first before you click the answer option is probably a key takeaway when using the keyboard shortcuts. And anything and other advice would probably just be never underestimate untimed practice. Definitely do your untimed practice. You want to understand what you're getting yourself into also with the question type. Definitely a key strategy to use. So when you're doing decision making via QR, start with untimed practice. You won't get the timing straight away unless if you're just naturally smart and you know how to do the questions. But yeah, untimed practice is always your best friend when you start with the prep.
Oh, that's good advice. And it's a very common question that people ask because I think the actual UCAT official exams are quite laggy when you do them on your own computer. But in
Yes,
the actual
exactly.
exam, most people have found it's run pretty smoothly. And like largely all the keyboard shortcuts have worked pretty nicely.
Yes, no, definitely 100%.
Well, thank you so much on behalf of everyone watching this video for sharing a bit about yourself and your story. And it's very valuable insights for people who are preparing in the future. Just wanted to wish you all the very best with your endeavors and with how the interviews and percentiles go. And I appreciate you coming on and filming this video very much.
No, that's not a problem at all, Ethan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for making it this far through the video. I hope you found Aman's journey and story insightful and inspiring. Obviously, everyone's experience of the test is different, but this is really valuable content for people who are sitting the UCAT in the future. Now, the next steps for people is to click the link in the description. Here, you'll get access to free resources, you'll get access to exclusive offers on workshops and my tutoring services, and it's a place to go to find more information about what the test is like and the stories and how the people who score above 2,500 from my students have managed and the key to preparing for this test. Because as Aman mentioned, preparation is the key. Having a solid plan and starting early are two of the most important things you can do. And it makes sense to get professional help because you are competing against everyone else. Click the link in the description. Remember, it's all free and you get free resources. So it's a win-win no matter what happens. I'll see you guys there.